Okay, good morning. This is day 59 of these little videos. Describe a day or thought in the life of me, Schizophrenic Dominic, and to express some amount of sanity as the world turned insane and turned this around on me and told everybody that I was insane. And so I will express some of the thoughts that I have on a daily basis here with living with schizophrenia and or experiencing schizophrenia is a reality to be experienced. And what I tell people is that on day 17 and day 45 of these little videos, which you can find on my pinned thread post and my pinned Facebook post, on day 17 it will express why I choose schizophrenia to use as terminology instead of targeted individual terminology. And on day 45 it will give a 3-minute introduction into why I make these videos. And I also have my book listed on the pinned Facebook post at medium.com called Unveiling the Schizophrenic Tradition. It's in chapter form there. And it is also on you can link to medium.com on my bio section of the Threads account. And all these videos go out on YouTube. Okay. So, I was going to talk today about someone had posted on a Threads account that they thought they had won the genetic lottery because they were Mexican, and they thought they won the DNA lottery or something because they got to be Mexican. They were really proud of their heritage and stuff. And I can relate to this as somebody who is Irish, Sicilian, Italian, Scottish, and a little bit British. That I feel like I won a little bit of a genetic lottery being connected to those groups of people. Uh, so yeah, in some respects, I feel like I won a genetic lottery, but sometimes I think like, man, I could maybe have been born into a different situation, but then the schizophrenia and all that jazz and everything like that, and locations where you're born and stuff, or where you live, and but overall, I feel pretty good about it. Anyways, so I was just pointing out the life itself is like, genetics for like diseases and genetics for like what country you're born into, what economic strata you're born into, all that stuff is like, it's just a lottery kind of basically the way it happens, or, socially what you're born into. And, it's so much in life is like a lottery, and then the way you go about your life is like such a lottery. Like, what pushes you in what direction, what little thing, what little decisions you make and stuff, and it's like, yeah, you're making decisions, but sometimes you are pushed into those decisions, and you were just any little thing about you made you choose those things, and or given such social situation in the country, or and I just so much is lottery. Now there's a lot. It's a messiness. So we have a messy system, and life is a little messy. So there's a little bit more to it than just lottery itself, as far as what you choose to do and everything. Like how you do. Like everyone likes to use the phrase inner work and stuff like that. So like I know there's some amount of like just like personal growth in what you do and how you go about things. And so yeah. But I was just thinking like so much is lottery, you know? And like why should somebody who's a paraplegic live a less fulfilling life than somebody who is a world class athlete like LeBron James? Now I know that LeBron James works hard, so I think he deserves what he has considering how much money was made off him. So in that scheme of things and that system that we have, the way that works, he deserves what he gets as far as that. But I'm not trying to say it, but I'm just like I'm just I'm picking him out because he's the biggest difference between a paraplegic because he's a world class athlete. And so I just like think like, it's kind of someone that's disabled, or let's say somebody that's missing a limb or something, and they or someone that's intellectually disabled or something, and it's just like it's it's a little crazy that uh we have a situation where it's just like a genetic lottery. Now, obviously, he puts a lot of work into what he does and everything. There's a discipline that he has to have gotten as good as he has at his craft. So there's a little bit more to it, but some of it is genetic lottery. And so it's just, I just was struck by like the lottery aspect of uh, birth. And yeah. So because of that, I was saying that equity is a fine concept, and it's maybe applied messily to our system, which is messy in all kinds of other ways, and would be messy without equity. It's messy with equity, but I think equity itself is a fine concept given our world that we live in. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that. And okay, uh, in my, I'm gonna jump here to another topic. In my book Fingerprints of the Gods, they're discussing the usage of dogs in mythologies of the cosmic mill, or mythologies that use the cosmic mill. As we were talking about earlier, like there's all these mythologies throughout history and time and cultures and place that use the cosmic mill to describe something that related to that's analogous to the precession of the equinox in describing some sort of cosmic message. And in this section of the book, these couple pages I was reading, he discusses the Cherokee, the Central Americans with Quetzalcoatl, and the Finnish with myth of Kullervas, and also the Finnish Hamlet are all accompanied by dogs while they're telling stories about a mill, and like the main characters are in those stories are accompanied by dogs. Even the Greek myth of Odysseus in the Odyssey, he is first recognized by a faithful dog. And so it's just kind of interesting that the dog is just another element of how these stories line up, and they have same symbology throughout things. And so uh, he just he's basically using the dog to prove a point that there is a common structure to these stories, and it gets passed on. Even he makes a point. Graham Hancock makes a point, like even amidst changes to the stories, as through time the stories have changed, but there's a same structure that lasts through time. Like they don't get rid of things, like the dog. They keep the dog in the story, and it's in stories all over around the world, and so it's very interesting. All right, so yeah, that's the book that I'm reading, Fingerprints of the God, and so that's what I read today, and I'm reporting out of that book as I read it, and so that's kind of what I read today. Okay, so in my book about the baseball parks, it discusses New York City, and I'm into New York City now about the Mets and the Yankees. And the author says that the Yankees are like the big swagger the big guys with swagger all the time and stuff, and the Mets are like the anxiety that hides or screams underneath the surface in the city of New York. So New York has two sides. It has the swaggering, uh, boasting side, and then it has the anxiety-induced screaming under the surface that just sits at the city all the time. And I experienced a little bit of that what this author was saying in New York. Like we went to Broadway, we went to the Met, we went to Central Park. We went to I think we went. Where did we go? We went to the Tenement Museum. It was pretty cool, and it was all great. We went to Little Italy. We had a lot of fun and stuff, and we had a great time. This last time I went to New York, I've been to New York a couple times, but this last time we went to all those places, and it was really cool. But then, screaming like the anxiety screaming under the surface. We were walking home one night in the evening, and this guy kind of shook me down for like $20 or whatever, and he got really close to me. And then and actually, this is kind of crazy. I'll get into something right now, but like a little bit later, there was a stabbing that night where somebody stabbed somebody, and I, this is the schizophrenia thing where like when the guy got close to me, I was like, oh, I don't know if this guy has a weapon or something. He like hugged me and stuff. He like got close to me and stuff, and he kind of walked up on me so that I would get into my wallet and give him money or whatever, and I did. And so, at the time, looking back on it, like this is like the anxiety. I had the anxiety. That's the anxiety screaming underneath the surface while I was walking around swaggering like, yeah, this is so cool in New York. And so now I actually this author says this. Okay, so gonna back up the baseball book. This author says to spend a week in New York. We spent about 3 or 4 days, so it'd be cool to go back and spend a week. This author says there's so much you could do in a week, and you could probably even spend 2 weeks in New York and not scratch the surface of what everything that's there. And so I would like to go back and spend a week or something, and it'd be cool. Um, I think that I could live in New York if I learned the ropes, like the ins and outs of the city and stuff, and like I didn't show up as like a 40-year-old roly poly guy in his fancy little sweater walking home at midnight in a desolate street. So that's probably not the smart thing to do. So like uh after a certain time of night, if you're going into a neighborhood you don't know or something, it's probably best to, even though they say New York is a city that doesn't sleep, I am not in my 20s anymore, so I'm now a target for these things, and I'm coming to this realization as I get older, like this is kind of interesting because like Trump now with he's going to go ahead and uh cut all these programs for poor people in this country, and it's just going to make people more desperate. It's going to put crime up, and I was just reading my cousin was saying something like that, and yeah, it's and the thing about it is I think that Trump probably wants this to happen because he's got phase two of his operation, which is the police state crackdown. And if he's a Nazi, then he's trying to push us towards the edge so that he could roll out some draconian laws and system or something. And so, we got people doing Nazi salutes, so we have to really think about what's the end game here for these people? Like what do they want to do? Like the first thing they're gonna do is cut the programs for the poor. So the first thing they're doing is going after the poor, they're going after the immigrants, and then eventually what are they gonna go after next? They are trying to go after intellectuals in funding, So what's the next step to go after intellectuals and stuff? You know, when the intellectuals fight back, what's gonna happen? All right, I gotta stop. Uh, all right, thank you for listening to me today, and have another great day today. It's a Saturday. All right, goodbye.